31 minutes past midnight. The argument over the power level at which the safety test on Chernobyl's reactor number 4 can begin grows ever more serious.
Мы и так уже опустились ниже уровня безопасности в 700 мегаватт. Мощность падает очень быстро.
Единственное, что здесь нестабильно, так это работа твоих некомпетентных людей.
The test has been demanded by Russia's atomic energy authorities and stems from the Cold War fear of being attacked that still grips the Soviet Union. A few years before, the Israeli Air Force bombed an Iraqi nuclear reactor built by the Russians. Since then, Soviet scientists have demanded tests on their reactors to see what will happen if they come under enemy attack and their power supply is knocked out. But Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov is deliberately ignoring top-level advice on how the test should be done. The guidelines state that the reactor's power should be between 700 and 1,000 megawatts when the test begins. Dyatlov wants to do the test at only 200 megawatts to preserve the cooling water that stops the reactor overheating. He believes there's little risk.
Unfortunately, that night there was not a single man in the control room that he saw as his equal. There really wasn't anyone there who was as strong a character or as professionally qualified whose opinion he would respect.
Реакторы не ошибаются, ошибаются люди. Давайте за работу.
Dyatlov is not in fact an unreasonable man. Rather, he is a creature of the communist system that has raised and promoted him. He was born a fisherman's son in Siberia and ran away from home at the age of 14. He's overcome these unpromising beginnings to rise through the ranks as an engineer. He is a party man who tries to follow the rule book, but he's aware that in the nuclear industry, the rule book and reality often don't match. To get things done, shortcuts and improvisation are sometimes the only answer. Winding the power down has led to it dropping too fast.
Что там у тебя?
Ну, мощность быстро падает.
Ты что натворил, идиот? Что ты наделал? Ты же мощность упустил! У тебя же руки из задницы растут! Да помоги ты ему!
Успокойся, успокойся, не суетись. Начинаем все сначала. Успокойся.
One mile away from Chernobyl is the dormitory town of Pripyat. Everyone who lives here works at the power station. Though they don't know it, all these people's destinies will be dictated by the events unfolding in control room number 4. Among them, soundly asleep, is Nikolai Fomin, the chief engineer of Chernobyl, who left the order for the safety test to be carried out. A few hundred yards away, Natasha Yevchenko is being kept awake by her 2-year-old son, Kirill. From her window, Natasha can see the lights of the nuclear power station where her husband, engineer Sasha Yevchenko, is working a routine night shift. As he passes through the kilometer-long turbine hall, Sasha's thinking not of work, but of the upcoming May Day holidays.
Чем-то этот вечер отличался, знаете, не так, как всегда.
There was something about that night, something unusual. For some reason, I got all dressed up. The weather was remarkable, very warm for spring. I went off to work in a terrific mood. But my wife said that all night our son Kirill was crying. She didn't sleep a wink.
24 minutes to 1. A new problem disturbs the concentration of the increasingly fraught operators.
Да выключи этот вой!
Уровень воды в барабан сепаратора
соберись, это твоя работа.
Senior Unit Control Engineer Boris Stolyarchuk controls the flow of water through the reactor. He's all too used to alarms like this.
А что касается уровней барабан-сепараторов, то...
50-foot reactor lid are 1,661 uranium-filled fuel rods, which descend into the reactor core. The splitting of the uranium atoms releases enormous heat from the fuel rods, which turns water into steam. The steam drives the giant turbines which generate electricity. To control this power, 211 boron control rods are spread throughout the reactor core. If they're raised, power accelerates. If they're taken out altogether, the engineers lose their ability to apply the brakes. Yet that is exactly what Dyatlov tells his men to do.
Выводи регулирующие стержни. Бегом!
Извините, Анатолий Степанович, но разве мы не должны остановить реактор? И так положено в инструкции.
Это верно, Анатолий Степанович. Это абсолютно верно. Если мы извлечем регулирующие стержни, управлять реактором нам после этого становится почти невозможно.
Как же испытания не проводить из-за таких кретинов, как вы? Испытание будет проведено сегодня!
Within 5 minutes, they've got power rising again. Dyatlov has what he wants.
Мне удалось поднять мощность реактора до 160 мегаватт.
Ладно, передай управление Топтунову. Вперед, вперед. Только не уходи и постой с ним рядом.
The control room staff have every reason to fall in line. To be a nuclear engineer is a prestigious and well-paid job.
Уровень воды в барабан-сепараторе опасно низкий.
Ну разберись, там не маленький.
But to Dyatlov, who continues to have no idea of the hotspot that has already built up, the risk remains purely theoretical. The power to the turbine is turned off. As the turbines wind down, the pumps push less water through the reactor core. More and more steam is generated from less and less water. Steam pressure builds at the core's invisible hotspot with every passing second. As the steam pressure rises, it spreads to the pump room. Perovozhenko enters the huge reactor hall directly above the reactor lid to see something never witnessed before. Steam pressure inside the core is lifting the 350 kilo caps to the fuel rods out of their sockets.
Произошел резкий скачок мощности.
Я включаю систему аварийного снижения мощности.
Pressing the emergency AZ5 button automatically lowers the boron control rods to reduce power. But it has an unforeseen and fatal effect.
The boron rods were in fact tipped with graphite, and that short moment when they are first inserted into the reactor, the graphite in fact leads to a surge in the power, not a reduction of power.
When the AZ5 button was pushed until the explosion, the power increased not 2- or 3-fold, it increased hundreds of times.
Акимов, что там у тебя? Акимов!
Это не у меня, Анатолий Степанович. Что происходит? Это у Столярчука.
Реактивность удваивается каждую секунду.
Это невозможно.
Уровень мощности превысил 530 мегаватт.
Наконечники срывает с крышки реактора. Ребята! Ребята! Люди!
Котик дома. Котик. Интересно. А кто играется с котиком? Никита играется.
Steam pressure at the reactor's hotspot can't be contained. 50 control and fuel rod shafts are torn apart. Power rockets, turning the whole reactor into a volcanic steam pressure cooker.